Welcome back to the next chapter in this course. This is about modifying containers. My name is Candace Savanen, and let's walk through how to modify containers. This is the licensing information for this course. Okay, so for this chapter, we're going to try to understand the purpose of a Docker file. We're going to try to modify a Docker file to build a new image. We're going to learn to manage a Docker image using tags and add a new package to a Docker file. All right, so in this activity, we're going to modify a Docker image. You can go to the link for the activity. Now, in this, here's what we're going to do is we're going to kind of put this together. We already talked about images and where they are, and now we're going to learn about a new command called Docker build. So how do we get these images in the first place? We build them with a command called Docker build, and we do that by writing a file called a Docker file. And that file we can think of kind of as a recipe for making that image. Okay, it's going to have a bunch of instructions that it's going to do in order to build the image that we're going to use. And then the rest of this we've kind of talked about before. All right, so we have some activity files in the repository file that from GitHub that you downloaded, and that main one that says Docker file is what we're going to build this time. You notice that there's also 3 other Docker files in there called bad Docker files. That's for a future chapter, so we'll return to those. But if you open up that file called Docker file in the activity files in what you downloaded, then what you should find is this. It's not a very complicated Docker file. There's Docker files that are got a lot of steps, but this one basically just has from on the top, and you can recognize that that's actually the name of the image we were using before. And then it has a hashtag or pound sign in order to put a comment. So that line with the pound sign in front doesn't do anything really. It's just a way for us to annotate what's going on. And then there's also going to be a line here that says CMD for command. And that's something that's going to run upon you doing Docker run. So there are a list of commands like this. You see these all caps type things from and command. There are a small list of these that you can use in a Docker file that Docker recognizes, and that's kind of what you use to build stuff. So we'll go through another one in this section as well. So this one, what it's going to do is when we'll build this image, and then after we build it, if we ran it, then it's going to print out that message for us. So this is what it'll look like when you build it in the activity. So follow along with the activity instructions. And then you should be able to see in Docker Desktop, or if you do Docker PS, you'll see, or Docker Image LS, sorry, then you should see something like this that'll show up that'll say cool new image, because that's what we called it. And then you should see that we can, do run like we have before. And when we run it, if we look in our logs in the containers section, we'll see, yay, I built a Docker image, which is the image we saw in the Docker file, right? It was something that was run after we run the image. Okay, now what we're going to do in this activity is you're going to actually modify this Docker file. You're going to delete that command line about the hello or echo, yay, I built Docker, delete that part, and we're going to replace it with a package installation. Remember how before we had a problem? It was an error that was coming up that says it couldn't find our markdown. It didn't have our markdown. Well, this is the line that we're going to put in to install it to fix that. So the backslash there allows us to continue the command on the next line, but otherwise this line, you copy and paste it. Don't try to write this thing from scratch. Copy and paste from the instructions and put it in the Docker file and make sure to save. All right, and then you're going to do the same steps you just did. You're going to build it, and then you're going to run it to make sure to attach your volume so you have access to those files. And then if all goes successfully, yay, this is what it should look like if you have successfully run the analysis from this container. So good luck with that. Just remember that this is kind of the summary here. If you're missing files, you need to rerun, but then add a volume. If you're missing software, you might need to edit your Docker file and rebuild. All right? Good luck.